Every WWE era has its defining legend whose name becomes synonymous with that period. From Austin's rise during the Attitude Era to Super Cena's dominance during the PG era, in this video, we're crowning the GOAT of every WWE era, starting with the Golden Era. Between 1984 and 1992, the WWF was a carnival of larger-than-life personalities. Macho Man Randy Savage was electric on the mic and magnetic in the ring. Rowdy Roddy Piper was the most charismatic villain of the 80s. The Ultimate Warrior lit arenas on fire with his intensity, and Andre the Giant was a literal force of nature. But none of them came close to the raw star power of Hulk Hogan. In 1984, Hogan defeated the Iron Sheik to win his first WWF championship, and Hulkamania was born. What happened next changed the trajectory of professional wrestling in America forever. Hogan headlined the very first WrestleMania. He body-slammed Andre the Giant in front of 93,000 people at WrestleMania 3. He feuded with Piper, King Kong Bundy, and the $1 Million Man. He formed and then exploded the Mega Powers with Savage, culminating in their WrestleMania 5 main event, and his popularity and star power made the WWF a household name. He appeared in movies. He crossed over with MTV. He transcended wrestling in a way nobody before him had. Before Hogan, wrestling was a regional business with a grimy reputation. After him, it was a national entertainment empire. The Golden Era belonged to many talented people, but it was Hulk Hogan's world. Everyone else was just living in it. However, by 1993, the WWF's golden age was fading. Hogan had left. Savage had exited. The cartoonish aesthetic that had defined the 80s was starting to feel stale, and a war with WCW was on the horizon. The company needed a new identity, and it needed a new star to carry it. Diesel had the look and the swagger, but his championship run failed to deliver at the box office. Razor Ramon was effortlessly cool. Yokozuna dominated as an unstoppable monster heel for an entire year. Bret the Hitman Hart was the best technical wrestler of this era, and carried the company as champion during its most turbulent periods with feuds against the likes of Owen Hart and Yokozuna. But when history looks back on this era and asks who defined it most completely, the answer is Shawn Michaels. HBK spent the early years of this era building his reputation one classic at a time. His Intercontinental Championship reign in 1993 established him as the next big thing. His legendary ladder match against Razor Ramon at WrestleMania 10 is widely considered the match that invented the modern ladder match. Then, at WrestleMania 12, he wrestled a 60-minute Iron Man match against Bret Hart, becoming WWF champion for the first time. His title reign that followed saw him defend against names like Mankind, Vader, and The Undertaker in a series of wildly different matches, excelling in every one. He wrestled in the very first Hell in a Cell match in 1997. He became WWE's first ever Grand Slam champion, and he founded D-Generation X, a group that would define the bridge into the Attitude Era. While there will always be a debate about who was the better in-ring wrestler between HBK and Bret Hart, but when it comes to overall impact and popularity, nobody navigated the transition of this era with more artistry than the showstopper. But as the curtain fell on the new generation, a Texas rattlesnake was already rattling his cage. If the Golden Era built the foundation and the new generation kept the company alive, the Attitude Era launched WWE into the stratosphere. This era had no shortage of stars who would have been the top guy in any other period of wrestling history. The Rock was perhaps the most charismatic performer the business has ever seen. Triple H was a cerebral, cunning heel. The Undertaker remained iconic as the Dead Man and also with his biker gimmick. Kane, Mick Foley, Edge, Christian, the Hardy Boys, and the Dudleys were raising the bar on every card. This era was overflowing with talent, and yet Stone Cold Steve Austin was in a league of his own. It started at King of the Ring 1996, when the Austin 316 promo changed the entire trajectory of WWE. By 1997, Austin was a wildfire nobody could contain. His WrestleMania 13 match against Bret Hart completed one of the most organic double turns in wrestling history. Then, at WrestleMania 14, Austin defeated Shawn Michaels for the WWF Championship and officially marked the beginning of the Austin era. He went on to win the WWF Championship 6 times. He won the Royal Rumble 3 times. His feud with Vince McMahon became the most commercially successful storyline in WWE history. His battles with The Rock produced some of the most electric moments ever. Austin was the Attitude Era's heart, its soul, and its engine. And when injury and time finally forced him to step back, WWE was left searching for someone who could fill that enormous void. After Austin's departure and The Rock's transition to Hollywood, WWE needed a new top guy. The Ruthless Aggression Era arrived as a period of reinvention, and it gave the company not one, but 2 new icons. The The first half of this era from 2002 to 2004 saw Kurt Angle put on classic matches, while Shawn Michaels returned from a 4-year absence and stole the show. Triple H's reign of terror dominated Raw, while stars like Benoit, Edge, and JBL had their own shining moments, but nobody made more impact during this period than Brock Lesnar. The next big thing debuted in March of 2002, introduced by Paul Heyman, and immediately tore through everything in front of him. Within 3 months, he won the King of the Ring. Within 5 months, at SummerSlam 2002, he pinned The Rock for the WWE Championship. He defeated The Undertaker in a brutal Hell in a Cell match. He destroyed Hulk Hogan. He won the Royal Rumble in 2003 and headlined WrestleMania 19 against Kurt Angle. He held the WWE Championship 3 times in those 2 years, and every reign felt significant. Lesnar left WWE in 2004 and went on to make a name for himself in the UFC. But what he left behind in 2 short years was a standard of dominance that the company had never seen before. And while the first half of the Ruthless Aggression Era belonged to Brock Lesnar, the second half was about one man's determination to never give up. The second half of the Ruthless Aggression Era had no shortage of candidates stepping forward. Batista conquered Triple H at WrestleMania 21 and became the dominant force on SmackDown. At the same time, The Undertaker had a late career resurgence and delivered some of the finest work on the blue brand. Edge was redefining what a modern heel could look like. Randy Orton was cementing himself as the legend killer. Shawn Michaels was delivering classics every other month, and Jeff Hardy was electrifying crowds with every death-defying leap. But nobody polarized the audience the way Cena did during this stretch. It started at WrestleMania 21 when Cena defeated JBL to win his first WWE Championship. He was drafted to Raw and immediately became the face of the entire company. His feud with Edge in 2006 defined an era. He headlined WrestleMania 22 against Triple H, WrestleMania 23 against Shawn Michaels, and spent the year of 2007 as the top guy on Raw. Then came October 2007 and a torn pectoral muscle. The prognosis was 7 months. Cena returned in under 4, entering the Royal Rumble at number 30. Love him or hate him, Big Match John was exactly what his nickname promised. He showed up, he delivered, and he carried WWE through one of its most commercially successful periods. Every era needs a constant. In the second half of Ruthless Aggression, Cena was that constant, and he wasn't done yet. The PG era had its fair share of dominant wrestlers. Randy Orton's cold, calculating Viper character in 2009 was arguably the best character work of his career. CM Punk's championship runs and his role as the straight-edge savior showed a performer who deserved far more than he received. The Shield arrived in 2012 and immediately felt like the future of the entire industry. But when the chips were down, WWE kept coming back to John Cena. And for all the criticism that came with that choice, the numbers didn't lie. Cena had iconic feuds against The Rock, CM Punk, and every big name of this generation. His merch sold like crazy, and even during this shaky period, Super Cena remained the most reliable draw on the roster. But as the PG era came to an end and the reality era dawned, Cena finally had to step aside. The reality era was a short and messy period from 2014 to 2015. Seth Rollins was proving himself the finest worker in the Shield. Dean Ambrose was connecting with fans through sheer charisma. Brock Lesnar broke The Undertaker's streak and then demolished John Cena at SummerSlam. But nobody defined this era more than a scrappy, bearded underdog named Daniel Bryan. After Triple H screwed Bryan out of the title at SummerSlam 2013, the Yes movement spread across the country like wildfire. At WrestleMania 30, Bryan pulled double duty, defeating Triple H in the opener to earn a spot in the main event, then defeating both Randy Orton and Batista to win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. The image of 60,000 people in New Orleans with their fingers pointed to the sky remains one of the most genuinely emotional moments in WrestleMania history. Unfortunately, injury took everything away almost immediately. The reality era was devastatingly brief for Bryan, but what he accomplished and the level of organic connection may never be replicated. And as the Yes chants faded, a phenomenal takeover was about to begin. The new era arrived with rising stars and a brand split. This era produced real stars on the main roster as well as NXT. Kevin Owens was a wrecking ball of charisma and ring work. Sami Zayn was universally beloved. Seth Rollins was tearing the house down as champion and challenger alike. The Miz elevated the Intercontinental title. Braun Strowman and Shinsuke Nakamura had their moments. But nobody owned the new era the way AJ Styles did. In 2016 alone, he challenged Roman Reigns for the championship at 2 consecutive pay-per-views, had classics against John Cena, and won the WWE Championship at Backlash. From November 2017 to November 2018, Styles held the WWE Championship for 371 days. He defended against Nakamura across 4 pay-per-views, outlasted Samoa Joe's intensity, and turned what could have been forgettable title defenses into must-see matches. The man WWE once dismissed as an indie darling had become the measuring stick for in-ring excellence on the biggest stage in the world. He was the GOAT of the new era. But as the world shut down in 2020 and the Thunderdome era approached, a Scottish warrior was ready to carry the company through its darkest hour. Some championships are won in front of 80,000 screaming fans, while some are won in an empty performance center in Orlando, Florida. Drew McIntyre got the second kind, and he carried it like it was the first. The Thunderdome era was one of the strangest chapters in WWE history. The pandemic had stripped the product of its most essential ingredient, a live crowd. Superstars were cutting promos into the void, performing for virtual crowds piped onto LED screens. For most performers, it exposed every weakness. For Drew McIntyre, it revealed a star who didn't need a crowd to validate him. He had won the Royal Rumble in January 2020, eliminating Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns to earn his shot. Then, after the pandemic hit, WrestleMania 36 was moved behind closed doors to the WWE Performance Center in Tampa. And in that empty building, McIntyre defeated Lesnar for the WWE Championship. What followed was a reign conducted entirely in silence. He defended against Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley, Dolph Ziggler, and Randy Orton, carrying the company through a challenging period. And as fans finally returned to arenas in mid-2021, the Renaissance era that followed would be built around a man who had been waiting his entire career to be acknowledged. The Renaissance era has been a mixed bag of hits and misses. Gunther's Intercontinental Championship reign was one of the finest title runs in decades. Seth Rollins was delivering 5-star performances every month. Cody Rhodes returned from AEW and went on to headline WrestleMania. Kevin Owens, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, LA Knight, CM Punk, all were performing at an excellent level. But nobody was on the level of the OTC, Roman Reigns' heel turn in August 2020, aligning with Paul Heyman, embracing the tribal chief character, demanding the entire Samoan family acknowledge him as the head of the table, was one of the most complete character reinventions in the history of this business. He unified both world championships at WrestleMania 38 by defeating Brock Lesnar. He reigned at the top for 1,316 days, while the Bloodline storyline became the most layered long-term story in modern WWE. When Cody Rhodes finally finished his story at WrestleMania 40, the moment only worked because of how dominant Reigns had been. You can't have a coronation without a king. And for 3.5 years, Roman Reigns was the undisputed king of professional wrestling.